Welcome to the Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast, broadcasting, streaming, recording live here from our studio in Freetown, Sierra Leone. I'm your host with the most, Vicky Rameau, producer, everythinger, creative, but most importantly, a woman on a mission to make Sierra Leone famous for all the right reasons. Welcome to season 3 of the podcast. Yeah, snap fingers. Today on the show, we are going to be talking about the uncut or uncircumcised women of Sierra Leone. We'll be looking at desire, pleasure, and sexuality. In Sierra Leone today, up to about 87% of adult women have been circumcised or undergone the rite of passage from childhood to womanhood, which to do in Sierra Leone, it means that you have gone through the Bondo or Sunday society. This, for most women, happened when they were kids, girls, before they even knew or understood the functions, the anatomy of their body, the functions of their sexual organ. It is important to note that because one of the organs that gets taken away when women go through the rite of passage in Sierra Leone, which is the initiation into Bondo, is that the half or part or all of the clitoris is removed. And you know that for women's sexual pleasure, a big part of the enjoyment or sweetness that women enjoy or have during sex comes from the clitoris. So if you take half of the clitoris away, you've taken half of the sweetness. If you take all of the clitoris away, you've taken a big part of the sweetness. The thing about female circumcision in Sierra Leone is that we don't know where it began. No one can tell you that, oh, na this village, na this community. We don't know. In history, they say that circumcision was practiced in ancient Egypt. Mm-hmm. Some people say that it began in the Roman Empire. One thing that was common during the Roman Empire is that they would clasp or clip the clitoris of female slaves to prevent them or reduce their sexual activity, because they're not being wanted and born, boku, or get sex, etc., because they're not being slave. So they didn't want them to have, enjoyment. You're not slave. Now, slave work will bring you cash, so not for can't enjoy yourself. That's something that we know from history and the ancient Roman Empire. In Africa today, circumcision is practiced about half across the continent, from Nigeria to Sudan to Somalia and here in Sierra Leone. But on today's show, we're not actually talking about circumcised women. I have with me here 2 women who belong to the minority in Sierra Leone, the minority of women in Sierra Leone who are uncircumcised or uncut. We belong to a very small club.
What's the name called? Gborka? Gborka.
We are the gborkas.
Yes. Gborka!
Today I'm chilling with, or you're in. Today you're in the studio with Team Gborka.
Exactly.
And we are, myself included, women who have not made the rite of passage from rite of passage into Bondo. We've made a rite of passage into adulthood, but for all of our ethnic groups, we would be considered not women, really, because the definition of women in our society, woman of society, is a woman who has gone through the initiation. So if you haven't, in certain circles, they won't allow you to sit, like if we were in the village where the circumcised women are gathering society women, we would not be allowed to consort with them at certain moments. Maybe even in the household, because we hadn't gone through circumcision, we would be given certain tasks, and we would be like a lower caste, basically, of women. We are a lower caste of women in certain people's eyes because we've not been circumcised. In the studio with me today, I have 2 guests. My first guest is Leanne MaHota Rizk. She's the country director from Amapikin Foundation, a child and maternal health organization based in Sierra Leone. But beyond that, she is a sexual and reproductive health expert and a sexpert, someone who advocates for good sex, positive sex, and sexuality, not just for adults, but also for children. And you're going to be shocked when I say for children, not for children having sex, but for children having a positive relationship with their body and understanding their reproductive organs and functions. Welcome to the studio, Leanne.
Thank you for having me, Vicky. Gborka for life.
Gborkas Incorporated.
I'm telling you, it's a thing. It's a thing.
My other guest is actually one of the people who inspired the show for me, is Umu Jalloh, who is a lecturer in the Department of Sociology and Social Work at the University of Sierra Leone College. She's a social worker whose work focuses on adult and child development. I met Umu through her sister Asuma, who is did she just get promoted to? She's a Sergeant Jalloh in the United States Army. So shout out to Asuma, who is an amazing, amazing Sierra Leonean woman who lives in New York. And congratulations to you. So shout out to Asuma, Sergeant Jalloh. Big up. Okay, so I want to get right into this conversation about gborkas. First of all, to share my own personal story. So I am the first woman on my mother's side that I know in our line who is uncircumcised. My great-grandmother, my grandmother, my mom, all circumcised. And the reason why I'm not circumcised is very simple. My mom says the minute she left the Bondo Bush, because it was such a terrible experience for her, she knew she would never, if she had the choice and she had a child, she would never make her own child go through that experience. So it never came up in my childhood from my mother or from my grandmother. And also I think because my father is Creole, that meant that even the women, because sometimes if you don't get the pressure to circumcise on the maternal side, it might come from the women on the paternal side. So because the paternal side is Creole, and there are just very few Creoles. Creoles are probably the least likely to circumcise. Though there are Creoles who practice, but Creoles are not particularly the group in Sierra Leone who does a lot of circumcision. So there was no pressure anywhere, right? Yeah. However, when I was younger, because the girls that I played with in my community, and we lived next to a Timney compound in Bananawata, like I remember specifically where they made to get at and for go bondo, and I've been jealous because nobody was taking me. I felt excluded, and I want to be a part. Mm-hmm. So, Umu, how come you are not circumcised? What happened to you? What's he make you na gborka?
Yeah, so now something similar like what you explained, because for me, it was my mom also in our family, both on the dad's side and mom's side. They practice female circumcision. But for my mom, based on her experience inside like the bush, because for us Fula, we do not have like a bondo bush that we go to, but because of our experiences, and then later on in life, she was a nurse practitioner, and she saw women having serious health issues when giving birth because of the same circumcision. So she took a vow that she will not put her children through that same experience. So, and it's very strange to see like a fuller person not being circumcised. So she was ostracized by the family, but she stayed firm on that because she knew the health repercussions if she put us through that particular experience. And just like you said, that when we were younger, we were very adamant because we had aunts, and relatives that would come tell us, don't listen to your mom, just come secretly and we'll do it, because when you come out from this whole experience, you get new clothes, give them gifts, money, and they're giving like very special treatments. And most of the girls come back very mature than their age because of the traumatic experience that most of them used to have. But my mom always put us down and told us that you don't know what is happening in there, and I'm not going to put you through this same experience that I went to. And thank God for that because
Otherwise,
I for those suffer.
For real.
Leanne, I know that you were born in the U.S.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, it is sometimes, even in the diaspora, people still find a way to have their children circumcised. Either they send their girls to Sierra Leone on holiday, and where you can holiday, then go put you, or then do and secrets na us. People then I know say na England, people then they don't go na jail because English law now they allow female circumcision, but they insist say even though them picking born overseas, then for still put them bondo, so then circumcise them. Well, not to bondo them put on a circumcise no more than circumcision because if you not go through the initiation, you not join the society formally, you not go na the bush, not to bondo you go na cut someone then cut you. So tell me how you came to not be circumcised.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, one big part of that is because I was born in the U.S. But I think for me, also coming from a background, my mother and all of her sisters were circumcised. They all are a part of the Bondo society. I think one thing that really saved me is my mother being vocal about it because really you're sworn to secrecy. I mean, that's how it keeps thriving because of the secrecy. So my mom she just could not allow herself to partake in the secrecy of it. So she always used to speak out against it. Even when her sisters would be like looking at her with like, just shut up. And she would just not shut up. My mom is, and I would say she's an activist totally against, and to end FGM. So I think hearing her, and then also obviously being in America, every time I came to Sierra Leone, even I remember when I was 9, I came and I be there kisi to me granny, and I be there in a veranda, then I saw like a parade.
The line.
Yes,
The line.
I see the drums them, I see the bikini and the gal bikini with the white powder. Yeah. And I'm like, I was like, Grandma, I want to go. She's like, yes, me begin, go there. And they pushed me, hey. By the time I reach half the step, no mommy, my mom don't begin Allah. And my mom is very dramatic. Oh my God. She came and grabbed me up there. I would never do. So I think just she was just hyper alert about it and definitely would never even fathom her any child, not even me. And she speaks up about anybody that she knows is even thinking about it. So I think just coming from that background, ultimately, yeah.
Okay. So it's basically that if we're here today and we're all uncircumcised, which we see as a gift, even though there is stigma against, I use stigma lightly because it's not like we are discriminated against in larger society, right? Because in order for someone to know you're not circumcised, you have to tell them, right? So it's possible that there are people who don't know you're not circumcised, right? Unless you're like talking about it all the time, like I do. But, you know, what it is for us in our case is that our mothers made a decision, right? They decided we would not have our daughters have this experience. And as a result of that, we've become women who therefore can have sex as pleasurable as possible without any like limitation or hindrance.
Hallelujah.
Passive demand and not sabi. That is other hindrance. But we get all the thing the way we need for be able to fully access pleasure. The only thing stopping us is, you know, if you not sabi yourself or your partner not sabi pleasure you. Tell me the first time, Umu, that you knew that sex was a pleasurable thing. When did you have your very first sexual pleasurable experience?
Yeah, so for me, it was after my first child, because I had my first child at 20. And I was going through a rough patch, and then I met somebody, and we had a conversation. Just like you said, people normally assume, especially for Fulanis, like when they see you, they expect that, like, you are circumcised, right? And we're having a conversation, and then I mentioned that I was not circumcised. And I was like, wow, this is so surprising. So I'd like you to have a very good experience, because I was complaining that...
Was this a man or a woman?
A man. So,
okay,
yes.
So, brother.
Yes, so I was complaining like that I've never had sexual pleasure, even though I'm uncut. And he was like, okay. And then he gave me like cunnilingus.
Oh, right.
Yes.
All right.
And then I orgasmed.
Well,
Then
do we
I
need
was,
to translate that?
Oh, yes. How do you say cunnilingus in Fula?
I don't think there's a specific one.
Not lie. So where you go talk about? Where you
Is
go
it, like, what
explain
did you
that?
say? You said vagina was like potato?
Yes, when they say putere.
Putere.
Yeah.
So how would you say eat the putere?
So nyamu.
Nanande happy. So for una Fulani.
Yeah.
So basically, he
so-
put his mouth on your private parts.
Yeah.
And he gave you sexual pleasure. You had an orgasm.
Yeah,
then
I
what
had
happened?
an orgasm, and then I was like, okay, this is a very good start. Now,
Very good start.
yeah, so I was like, okay, now I know the function of these gifts. And that day, I went back to my mom and I brought her a gift. It is something I sometimes go, yes, I was like,
You buy something for her?
yeah, I bought her,
tell her
because she
thank
likes
you.
snacks. And then I was like, Nene, thank you, I love you. I gave her a special hug.
Hey, Nene. God
And then
bless
I went
you.
to my room and she didn't know what was happening. She thought I was just being like emotional
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
But for me, it was appreciating that particular gift of knowing what an orgasm is. So like, it was very magical anyway. And
This guy, yeah. Anyway, God bless.
Are you guys
Exactly.
still friends?
yeah, we talk sometimes. Sometimes,
well,
yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you for your services.
So that was my first experience, and it was the first of many.
Oh.
Praise him.
Leanne, when did you first know that sex and pleasure were connected, or there was pleasure in sex?
I think that outside of, actually the behavior of sex, of actually having sexual intercourse, I mean, long before, when I was much younger, maybe I would even say around 5 years old, did I start experiencing, self-pleasure. So, in the bathtub, taking a bath, and when you do was, and like, you rub something just brush up against, you before, or you bombo, or, your vulva, or your clitoris, or you conk. However you'd like it,
Right.
I'm here for you. I think I already started to get the feelings. It came, the rushes of feelings like, oh, this thing feels good, And there'll be moments where you forget, and then you remember back again and say, oh, yes, this thing is there. So I think I discovered that my body had the power to offer itself in this way to give me the kind of pleasure that I didn't think existed, or I didn't know
Right,
that existed.
right.
And it also helped me when I got into intimate relationships with, people. And once I did, I was able to actually articulate and to say, I like these things, because I got some practice,
Right.
So even though it was not formally like introduced, but through masturbation and genital pleasure, self-pleasure, those were my introductions into that. And I also feel like that's a healthy and normal introduction, just to be clear.
Okay. One of the things that always is fascinating to me is that I think the way that we are raised is to think or believe that like women exist to give pleasure to men, right? Or even to others, because sometimes our labor is also pleasure to others. Our smile is pleasure to others. Your appearance, your beauty is for others. It's not for you. So have you ever felt like there was some kind of like pushback against your kind of, your finding pleasure for yourself not being the focus, and kind of society wanting to kind of you to exist for other people's pleasure and not necessarily for your own? Umu.
Yeah, so even based on what Leanne was talking about, like when we talk about like masturbation, for example, up till now, I have difficulties masturbating because society frowns on it, especially in our culture. For a woman, if a boy or a guy is masturbating, it's deemed normal. But when you touch yourself as a woman, for example, for just pleasure, it's seen as filthy, like you are doing something that is taboo. So yeah, when we look at how we talk about sex most of the time, because I have conversations with people even when you notice the drugs that they sell, this sildenafil and all those pleasurable drugs.
Right,
It's always
the sex, the
dragon, I
Samba.
think.
yes,
Yeah,
Coco
Coco
Samba.
Samba
Then
and
get
all
the other
that.
one as dragon.
Yes, they even
Right.
have a drink that Papa drink is Mama enjoy. They have different.
What's it?
Papa drink is Mama enjoy.
Papa drink, mama,
Mama
enjoy.
Yeah, that's the name of the drink. Yeah, so
Count on Salon.
yeah.
Count on us.
So, but they not get anyone when a mama drink, papa enjoy.
Exactly.
No,
So
not in that
you
order.
notice that like all conversations surrounding pleasure, conversations surrounding great sex is about a man staying longer and enjoying the woman.
For himself.
Yes,
Yeah.
for himself than actually a woman getting pleasure, like
Right.
pleasure focused for just a woman. Okay, so yeah, so society here like does not like focus on it too much, and most of the time it leads to guilt, because that is why I can't masturbate all the time, like up to
You get
now,
for
because
play
yes.
after.
No, it's not like my mind wanders quickly, and
Vicky.
you start hearing your mother's voice in your head. You're trying to masturbate,
yes.
and then you hear your mom's voice in your head, and like that is so off-putting, because it's not normal for us to talk about a
Right.
woman enjoying, and when you start talking about it, they say you like rude talk, or
Right,
you like man
right,
business, and
right.
but you are just trying to explain like the key part, that is pleasure for a woman is important, because it's lightens your mood. It makes you to appreciate yourself.
Sure, and endorphin. You know, like
exactly.
the actual chemical release of hormones that
Feel-good hormones.
yeah, that actually make you feel better,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
the release, right?
And
Yeah.
even research talks about it. Like the more orgasms you have, the less stressful you are.
And the
you know?
longer you could live.
Yeah,
actually.
and the less angry you get. Now, so you see a bunch of angry women walking around. It's because
We're not going to name the one them. Sabi.
Leanne, how do you think that patriarchy, right, plays into sex and sexuality, or women's experience of sexual pleasure?
I mean, I think that's a loaded question, because patriarchy is really the root of which even we are speaking about things like, female circumcision. Yeah, duh. That's a child of patriarchy.
Right.
It is birthed of that. So whether we can't lead it back to the person, to the date, to the village, it doesn't matter. We know that patriarchy is at the root of it, and like so many other things, and so related to sex and sexuality, because the one thing that I want people to get from this conversation that we're having is the fact that pleasure is a form of activism. Pleasure is, and that's actually a book, and people don't know, but I'm saying it's connected to power. Once you know that the power and the pleasure comes from within, that leads to the connection that I do not need XYZ, I do not need what society tells me I need. I do not necessarily need to, do the things that seem to be accepted in order for me to achieve what feels good to me. So I think even me speaking to young children, it's a very simple concept. Pleasure is really at the root and the core of it. Every message, pleasure is at the root of the core, because what gives you pleasure is what keeps you going as a human being. Everyone is looking for pleasure, and not always sexual pleasure, obviously. Pleasures of life, food, good company, a number of things, health, wealth. I mean, those things all provide pleasure for us all. So I think at the end of the day, patriarchy is the root cause, is the root of it, the foundational cause of things like this, these particular topics that we are trying to address today. And I do think that at the end of the day, it serves everyone, men, women, children, when we stop living in a world full of taboos when it relates to things that are innate. This is what makes us human.
Right.
Sexual connection and sexuality is a part of our human makeup. It's who we are. It's a part of us. And from birth until death, we are sexual beings.
Right.
So we need to find ways to have these conversations with children, to have these conversations with partners, stop running away from it, stop giving codes and other names for them, like potato in Fulani, instead of just calling the thing by its name. And, let people know, because we will say nose, but we can't say bombo, we can't say pussy, we can't say vagina, vulva, clitoris, conch, whatever it is. And I think And I love to say these things just to get a reaction because it shows the level of discomfort, the
Right.
level of immaturity, the level
Right.
of ignorance.
Right. Or I think when I think of it oftentimes, I think more in terms of a lack of liberation and a lack of freedom, right? While I didn't know pleasure as a child, as in I didn't have an understanding of pleasure, I think the thing that was very, very early on sowed in, even before you know what sex is, it's like the forbidden fruit, right? It's this no-go area. It's this thing that's immoral, unclean. There are people who even have consensual sex, but because of the way we then don't like train them from way then small, even when they have consensual sex, then think saying as something like bad. You understand what I mean? Which, you know, if you think pleasure in itself is bad, like how you they even begin for explore waiting good for you, waiting feel right, and also being for able to be in a relationship where go get like I want to say pleasure equity, right? Or pleasure equality. Because for me, one of the things then where I think say very important for woman then for Nona for say you have as much, and of course we did talk about heterosexual relationships and because now that's very most common as alone, but that as the woman, you get equal right to pleasure during sex as the man gets right for pleasure. One of the things I can tell people, I can say, no man no day, where then they born, where they reach adulthood, where go die, you know, ever get orgasm.
Nope. No man, no day.
No man, no day.
No day.
But woman then day.
Yes.
Where they die.
Yes.
They not ever experience orgasm. And for me, Nanani, one of the greatest crimes.
It should be a crime.
against.
I say this all of the time.
Exactly.
No,
it should be
not
a crime.
And the
against-
person will live longer, not to say now because he die young, make him
Yes.
experience orgasm.
No.
They
I know they
80s,
talk
90s.
about. I know they talk about like you die young, so you not get.
No,
I just mean like woman the way sexually active.
We
Way
live a life.
live one whole lifetime from beginning to end.
So them born Peking.
All
of
teen,
that.
boku pikin self, you
Yes.
go down born. But throughout the entire life, it's possible for lady woman not experience sexual pleasure because nobody not ever tell and say he get right for request, insist, and persist on his sexual pleasure. Me, for example, me and one person where I can always say, I'm not going to lay down with you more than 2 times if pleasure not involved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, the first time, I go say, okay,
Yeah.
you know.
Maybe it's a rough
Yeah.
They're gonna get
Get it.
Okay, you know, okay.
Now the excitement.
Okay,
And the
they
aim
can-
when
yes.
they don't aim this
Now the
thing.
first
Yeah.
time, okay, for 1. 2.
Number 5.
Oh yeah, they keep score. I really believe no.
Yeah.
I believe that if I can't have as many orgasms as you, na death.
Exactly.
So I want you know, and I call the number consistently. Say,
Yeah.
hey Sam, na 320. So
Exactly.
I don't know.
Why not?
Are you are for equal
Except there is
life?
something very similar.
Sometimes I can even say one of me orgasm I go give to you na 2 because it's so intense.
Yeah.
Na 2 points I don't score on this one. So we just
Exactly.
get for Adam. So
Equalize.
And on top of that, just so we're clear, when it comes to women orgasms, it's so remarkable the way that we are made up because we can experience multiple. So at the end of the day, if we they say man and guarantee forget an orgasm and we can get multiple and we can go a whole round of sexual intercourse, sexual behavior without getting any, that is a crime because you not even say you gets you one and then you have to go into refractory period as in that is the time that you have to rest. We still not get you and we can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Up to 10.
More than that.
sis said 10.
And listen, the thing that I wish for all women is that for us to experience these things, I wish that we can all live a mind-blowing, orgasmic life. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, those are pleasures of life that we shouldn't miss out on. And that's the reason why I agree with Vicky when she says it's a crime. It should be a crime to live your life and not experience that.
Umu, tell me about ways that you've been able to increase or amplify your pleasure. Because, once you know that it's possible, what are things that you think that you've done or that you think women can do to make sure that they're getting as much pleasure during sex, either, self-pleasure or pleasure with a partner?
The first and most important thing is knowing yourself and knowing what is pleasure for you. Because, like I can normally say, sex not so like orgasm-oriented thing, now an experience where you for enjoy. Like I say, we come more than one time and get different intensities of how you come.
Exactly.
You get different forms. Them
Frequency.
I think sometimes I say, oh man, we get like 10 different kind of orgasm. The who they get.
There's more than 12.
So the most important thing as woman first, you for know yourself, because if you ask a man for pleasure you and then he ask you, say, okay, what thing I go do for you enjoy, you don't know what thing, like usai for touch, how them for touch you, even we talk about penetration, how deep you go rather than penetrate you, how fast you want the pace for B, how steady you want the pace for B, so all that thing there, you go only start where we get a conversation with your partner, whoever you be with, if you know yourself. Because for me, I think that didn't lead to me coming to that realization because I explore my body. It not really means say you need for masturbate because like I already mentioned, I get difficulty with it, but that don't mean say I don't know the part of my body where the person go touch and make a get. So
wait, I think with Mango call that erogenous zone.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Erogenous zone.
So your erogenous zone there. So like that's the way you be with other person, you go get and point and say, okay, if you touch me this way, if you do this particular thing here, so it make get more pleasure. So you need first for sabi your own body, and also you for be with somebody where interested in your pleasure, because now that's in any like it's something that people don't talk about. Like some guys are not interested in whether you come or not. Waiting and no, I don't get the sexual.
Wait, say
experience.
it again. Say that part.
Most guys do not care about a woman's pleasure in sex.
You not agree?
Salon, I want you to listen. Now Salon at the top.
So
Salon man them.
you need for deal with somebody we actually get that interested, because the weird thing about female sexuality and sexual pleasure is most of it is in the mind.
Right.
Most of it is in the mind, and even this saying of size doesn't matter. Yes, also then they come in play, because if the person focus on your own pleasure, for example, you not get the dick size where you go you go immediately begin to think of other options like sex toys.
Sure.
Right.
If pleasure,
that's very key.
If pleasure is, I totally agree.
So
though size does matter.
Okay, Vicky, that's a preference.
Exactly.
No.
Size does matter when it's a micro.
Well, okay. So what we're saying is, this is the thing. To an extent, and depending on who you're talking to, but I do agree that it's about the fact that you are coming together to create pleasure, a pleasure map. This is what we call sexuality. Sexperts like me, we call it pleasure mapping. So you pleasure map, and everybody when you date with, it's not different map you they get, because not different person.
Right.
So just like how you defend your path for go some side, it's the same path. You have to find uniquely fits you and that person there.
Yeah.
So that's part of it, and that doesn't necessarily equate to a huge dick. It doesn't.
Yeah. So like especially this part about the man being interested. See like. And the way man able orgasm without come.
Of course.
Yeah, but then the people are not sabi than for say you as man you will get pleasure in sex without ejaculate.
Right.
So most of the time man and they come into the experience with just a one kind inside you and come. That's the pleasure. But like sex now an experience. And you will only realize in an experience where you oriented for ensure say una all two inside the sexual encounter. Interested in a mutual satisfaction. Yeah. So for me, like my major advice would be, or my major perspective about how I come for realize say sex can be pleasure, even if you can't save sometimes. You cannot all the time back you go come.
Sure, of course.
But you need for be pleasure oriented.
Right.
You need for be interested, invested in your partner in pleasure. na go make the experience fulfilling. Because seriously, sex now one of the best gifts we God give you.
Amen.
You see, like, even when we watch deeply into religion, talk about prophets, and nothing we prophet them in the talk, but specifically, even like me, a Muslim inside the hadith them, you know, and for father the prophet in Sunnah, then get part outside the prophet they talk about for say, as a man, if you worship God, then you ensure say you satisfy like you woman sexually, like an extra blessing for you, an extra blessing for ensure say you woman they come. So this all they try for show you say na interest in the woman's pleasure. Now in the first step for the man in your perspective. And then from the woman in your perspective, you need for know yourself, you know your body. Like me, so I know which part of my body where then go touch, where go make her go off. I get the part of my body where they touch, where they make her get more pleasure.
Yeah, I don't like anybody puts tongue in my ear or if, you know, like yes. Some people there.
Salon, are we listening?
Yes.
Salon, is this mic on? Salon, man, una they listening? I want to listen keenly.
No, I just that's
Keenly.
it. I'm just like, you go, una go they make fine. Then all of a sudden you want to put your tongue in me. Yes, what is
Yuck.
sir, ma'am? Like, please. I mean, I don't know for that person, but for me, please, me, yes.
Yeah.
Not for Yuri. Leanne, I wanted to, as she was talking about, you know, this idea of sexual exploration, like self-exploration to find what works for you so then you can communicate or advocate for your own pleasure in a relationship. Tell me why then it's such a, because as she's thinking, I'm just like, yeah, when I think of then of women who were circumcised in girlhood, the circumcision is happening at a time when you have no idea, first of all, that you even have a sexual organ, that it gives you, like, waiting day, right? What do you think happens when somebody who hasn't even, a child who hasn't discovered themselves, who is never going to, how does that affect or impact pleasure in adulthood if you never, by the time where you even they begin discover yourself, the thing that way you for, they use for fun, they're not they.
Yeah. I mean, that in a huge impact. I mean, and we see it. I mean, it's every day we see, just like you said, Sierra Leone is still 87% of women who have been circumcised, who have undergone being cut. So I think it manifests itself in so many ways. And I think even ways that we don't even think of. But I definitely feel like shame is one of the roots. Like, it's definitely part of it. Now you're associating that part of your body with pain, with trauma. You're not thinking about anything. What we're saying is foreign to you because as of now, you're like, what's in? That's in there. Wait, don't cause me all this pain. But don't cause me all this stress. Even to go to the extent, like we were talking about, some of the adverse medical outcomes of, you know, women, childbearing. And of course, you know, with our maternal mortality, as poor as it is, even though it's getting much better, these are all contributing factors to that. So I wouldn't even say just in that realm, but also socially. I mean, the impacts of it, I think, are just they're so plentiful that I can't even begin to put into words how it impacts women. And body positivity and the fact that you don't even feel good about your body. Even though you might get attention from men, you get fine shape and all the man and the yan you, but yourself, when you look at yourself, there's a disconnect.
You're not able to connect. Some woman in the salon where actually then so invested in the circumcision being like the ideal that they're not really, they look themselves as like the fact why I not get clitoris not mean nothing. Like actually that having one is not issue. A good thing, is the issue. Right? Like there, because yes, it does see like I don't hear you people then they talk say like if you have a clitoris like it grow say as you some people feel to say like as you they old you clitoris stay long that it touch gone or something. I don't know. So like
then clitoris they say they pull bad water.
No, so I asked one of the questions that Wabi actually asked me granny before she passed away about circumcision and they try for understand. That was like one of the things they actually tell me say, when them is small, they mean tell them say if they're not cut them, it go grow. And you know, then go say, oh, you know, want like third leg or something like that kind of thing there. So yeah, no, I think there are women in Sierra Leone where in their self-image or like the way they see themselves and their sex and sexuality, they don't see themselves as any less than. In fact, like they see themselves as the ideal because they don't have. So they haven't internalized any trauma. Because one of the things that I know say some of my party that we circumcised can talk about is that, the issue it then gets with the advocacy against FGM is that it can paint this picture like for say
They don't get pleasure at all.
every single woman we don't go bondo, we circumcised, every single one does not have pleasure. Right? Yeah. And so they're not keen like forgets that narrative because I feel like it's not their experience. So it is possible for women who are circumcised to have sexual pleasure because, of course, we don't know, again, not to like for say people when they go get circumcised and get some kind, we don't even know if any two circumcision are the same. Let's be honest. It's not like there's a
no
medical
professional.
Yes, we go say, okay,
use.
where they go do heart transfer or whatever, then get say, okay, you remove the ventricular this and you connect this, da. So like diagram day, we go say, do this. But then so way they cut. It's not like they all get some kind of manual. Okay, let's go to the clitoral manual for the bondo and let us cut this part, which is this, and leave
or
this.
Or even lights day. Or anything like
There's no system.
The
so we really just don't know.
Yeah.
But we do know that like if you don't have it all, it is going to significantly reduce the amount of pleasure you have because it's such a sensitive nerve.
But I do want to say to this point is that also what you do not know, obviously, how can you compare? You don't have anything to compare it to. So if you have lived in this world of this, the bliss of this ignorance. I do not have this thing. I do not have.
I know me some.
I don't have anything it wasn't traumatic for me. And there's women who will say that. It wasn't traumatic.
Yeah, it was
I loved it. I had a good time. I'm so happy to be a part of it. That's fine. What I will say, and I too am a proponent, when I do educate women and I do have, sessions with women, whether cut or uncut, I go out of my way to stress the fact that the clitoris is much larger than we know it to be.
Because it ain't inside.
It ain't inside. Yeah. So I even have a diagram, which I should have brought today, but I didn't. But I have like a little model that I show them of what the actual clitoris looks like so that they have an idea. So really, losses. Right? You still get some. Really, it's bad on them. It reflects bad on them because they're not even pulled the team where they said in the pool because
they're not possible inside.
It's not possible for actually remove the entire thing.
Because
what's in their pool?
They
just pulled the glands, right? That would be parts within our door, and that's all in pool. And of course, we have type 2 is the most common practice here. So that's the labia, which are the lips, and also the clitoris itself, the glands that sticks out. So you have women who actually have very little grooves. It's very one-dimensional, just a flat, smooth surface with lots of scar tissue, which is always leading to issues in the future. So those are things that, yes, it varies from woman to woman. Their answer will vary from but I think the more they learn, the more they start to understand. A lot of times they don't go out of their way to learn it either because they rather live in this ignorance of, I'm not missing anything. I don't want them to with the scratch and
exactly.
Oh yes, there is that other thing where people believe that like if you don't cut off the clitoris, that like you have this insatiable sexual desire where you just want sex all the time. Yes, you think go the catch. So you know
you don't know more. You think catch.
Yes. So for me, I feel like if I had been circumcised, right, as a girl, I would never know I wouldn't be who I am today. I don't think I would be because, I do think that there's a lot of power to understanding your body, understanding your sex and sexuality, and being able to advocate for yourself, right? If you can stand up for yourself in the bedroom, you can stand up for yourself anywhere.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
it is really, truly the most incredible thing because in most of our intimate relationships, that's where we would know or whether we have power or not, right? If you're in a relationship with your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your boyfriend and your girlfriend, whichever you prefer, we don't discriminate. I feel like if you cannot speak up and say, I like this, I don't like this, yes, no, et cetera, you probably can't do that in society at large. You can't stand up at work. You can stand up. So a lot of times I tell, people always ask me like, you get motto, you get this, so you get that, so you get this, so you get that, so. And for me, truly, I wouldn't say it comes from my clitoris, but it tells.
I would beg to differ.
But I'm just like, because like I have been practicing standing for myself.
Exactly.
And if I can do it to one person in a room where it's just the two of us, wait till make I not go able to do an outside. If I able to do a pussy way like me, right?
Yeah.
We don't choose me. I will not go able for stand up for myself outside. But maybe as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, well, maybe that is why they try to limit.
Well, this is what I was saying about it's directly connected to power.
Yeah, exactly. Because even you talk, like, when you listen to reason and they say, oh, you they grab, you feel for man. Like, if woman get feeling for get sex, like, what's wrong with that?
Exactly, my sister, talking bad.
And for God make that part, especially for sex. Now, we are the people that God make na the wall for enjoy sex past man and for me from my own perspective, because the vagina no other role past pleasure.
Yeah,
the clitoris,
the
clitoris no get other role past pleasure. Like man, for example, in penis you use them for peace, and do
tooting, multiple things.
But for we then craft them very well, God craft them so
and
well. You know, only here and that
it
spread them. You don't understand. For lay woman gets the full experience. And if you are normal, like you get motoka, you park in motoka, you walk on the street every day, you wait for keke or bike. Because you get the thing for making you enjoy, but they use them. Right. Instead, you just focus on pleasuring another person, you focus on giving another person pleasure than you experiencing it. Even like we see conversation about women empowerment, for say, okay, woman then they feel say forget sex, I don't give you sex. That's how they see sex.
Right.
It's like a currency.
It's a transaction.
It's a transaction for say forget sex, not to something where na me don't experience.
Yes.
So now for the man.
Yes.
So all things and they come from all the idea they are. So we they see now that they try to reduce the human femininity. Because I'm a part of reduction of femininity.
Of course.
Taking the soul thing we God puts by you for pleasure, say the cut because you're not clean. For you not get feeling for man, or for you don't know one day you feel tell man say I want forget sex. So like the narrative just patriarchal at the end of the day. Look at
like we said.
So what can we do to help women feel less shame around sexual desire and like wanting pleasure? Like how can women start to unlearn the conditioning that, I guess this is something you're still working through yourself. Unlearn the conditioning that, if I desire sex, if I desire pleasure, if I say I'm, okay, so for example, I'll tell you a funny joke. So I have a Zarine implant in my arm, which here in Sierra Leone they call Captain Band. And it's so funny to me because every time I take a photograph and post it on Facebook where people can see the scar, it can become this long conversation. Hey, Captain Band, Captain Band, Captain Band, Captain Band. Like for say, then they expect me to feel some kind of shame for say, I they use contraceptive. And I'm always like, yes, the sex way I they get guys out of my life, not solely for pleasure, not for procreation. So I get for do something for lay and not procreate. Like, I want pleasure, but I don't want to procreate. So that's what it's there. But I'm always like intrigued about the fascination for them for say, hey, Captain, like you ready? Yes, I am. I am. So what can we do to help women, or what can women do for themselves to start feeling less shame or to unlearn the idea that pleasure and sexuality and desire are like dirty things or shameful things or things that they shouldn't do for themselves, but that they give to man?
Yeah, so with regards to the first thing we are believing now, for you, the woman, you should accept that you are supposed to have pleasure. For pull that taboo around you, because you mind na the first step to freedom. So if you still think say getting pleasure is wrong, then definitely you need to strive for get pleasure. You need even remember for explore your own body, for know wetin dey please you. So na the key thing, because like I say, if you and your partner dey together and you realize say you know they get the pleasure where you need forget, you go able for communicate with them because you know say you need them. But until like we start for accept that day about yourself, like a woman having sex for pleasure is nothing wrong. Not mean say you promiscuous. Like I can say, me yes, I like sex, but I like for doing with a partner where I sabi where I used to where I get emotional connection with. You know mean say because I say I dey enjoy sex or I talk about sex mean say any man will text me say he wants me and he go a little with the person.
Right.
Or for say I don't get past 15 sex partner, even though there's nothing wrong with that. If you get 20 self, it's for your own pleasure. Yeah.
If not that's you want, so that's you
want.
want.
But at the end of the day, realizing that wanting to have pleasure is not a crime because they don't socialize with that, they don't men with that way, they don't they part of we mindset for say, oh, I need for hide my sexuality and me sexual pleasure from a man. They know if you say me a free woman. Not realizing that being a free woman is the best version of yourself.
I'm telling you.
You need to be free, and accept, say, you deserve happiness, you deserve pleasure. So now the key thing that the woman they need for really invest themselves in, for believing in yourself and know, say, you deserve the pleasure where you get, not a gift. Not a gift, that's something where you get right to. Just like I get right for exist and this one, I also get right for get pleasure in sex.
Leanne, what would you say? What can women do as practice? Maybe, I don't know, daily practice, weekly practice, I don't know how frequently. But what can women do by way of personal action and like self-exploration or just like ways to increase sexual pleasure for them? Like, where can you start? If someone's listening to our show today and they're like, you know what, I really don't feel like I've had enough sexual pleasure or I'm having enough sexual pleasure, what can they start to do today to kind of get them on a pathway towards increasing or amplifying their sexual pleasure?
Yeah, I think that in addition to what my sister has said already, I think that number one for me is, of course, educating yourself in whatever small way that could be, whatever ways that is. And it doesn't necessarily mean read a book, although you could do that. You could read several books. There's books all over the place, all over the world, that you can read. You can watch YouTube videos. There's sexperts like myself that have been doing this on Instagram. They're all over the place. But one thing I would urge everyone to do, and every time I have an opportunity to speak to a group of women or girls, I always give them homework assignments to look at themselves, to actually take a mirror, a glass, and go lock yourself inside washyard or you bathroom or you any side where you go able to lock for yourself, you day inside you one, and pull your drawers.
You can also use your phone.
You could use your phone. Just make sure you delete.
Or keep it if you want to be reviewing to say, sir, I would like to show you this department.
You could. You absolutely could. I mean, listen, whatever floats your boat. Right. But what I'm saying is, as a first initial step, you do need to explore your body, who you are. What does it look like? What does your particular inner beauty, outer beauty in terms of your vulva? Where is your vulva? Where is your clitoris? If you have one that is outward, and if you do not, what is there in place of it? What does it look like? Where is the urethra, usaide piece and wet, which is the next hole? Where is your vagina itself? How does it look like? How do your lips look like? You get here, you don't get here. If you get scade, if you get anything there, how you able to see them for yourself? It's so important because I think in addition to the crime of living a life without pleasure or orgasm, the crime also there, if you don't ever see yourself, say woman don't live their whole life, they don't one day watch themselves. Well, imagine.
If then tell you say iwowo or ugly, because there's also that conditioning, right? That women get to say like the female sexual organ is
everywhere
ugly.
This is their response.
Yeah, watch iwowo. Yeah.
That's in the iwowo. So imagine where you cost yourself.
Right.
I mean, that's exactly what you're doing. And so I say these things, and they pause. Many people pause, and they're like, so you they cost yourself, then you they cost God and walk back.
Exactly.
Because that's what God put together for you. It's not ugly. It looks the way it was intended to look.
By design.
And everyone it varies. You know, there's like a wall of vulvas that has been in artwork in different art galleries forever, and you'll see different forms of them, different shades and complexions and shapes and sizes and all kinds seen. And yeah, you go see the clitoris then where they come on are those small more than other people there. The one that where they hide go inside, but they still there. So and the one that we know where it was removed, forcibly removed, like some of us. And so I think that what it is that is really the first step into really going into like radical self-love. Like you accepting you, even if you get white, yeah. Some of we get white, we don't get that age. So like even all of those things, what are those things? What does it look like? How can I actually describe it? I think that's my biggest wish for women to really get connected to themselves. And I really think it's an awesome first step where you no need for read book or see don't and listen to an expert. You can really just connect with yourself in some quiet place where you able just look and say, wow, I don't ever take time for look. I think that's one of the first steps. If I had to tell any woman, I would say start with that. I also am a proponent of masturbation. I do believe in masturbation. I think touching yourself, and it doesn't have to be like full throttle. It doesn't have to involve a toy. It can be, you know, just touching, rubbing, doing different things to try to see what kind of feelings come from when I do these things. And if you are dealing with discomfort, you're dealing with the shame that a lot of us carry, which is generational. How does that now translate into how I'm able to release that? And small, you go able to release them if you they put them into practice. But then they take time. So I think those things are some like practical action steps that people can actually start to take in addition to educating yourself formally.
Of course.
Yeah, and also to add to that, like not only like watching yourself, for realize that you get feminine scent. Because now that thing that even makes some woman they shy away from their organs, because there's this substandard that the vagina for smell like flower. You forget some kind of citrusy fragrance, because you see the products the way they sell, right? If you say you forget strawberry flavor,
not garden.
Exactly. You know, accepting say like,
another answer.
say you vagina get your own scent.
Right.
Wait till you eat get for affected scent. Even your partner in sperm they affect your scent and your pH level, you know.
Yes, it does.
So and also they get this obsession with tightness, you know. People that they go buy soap them.
Right, I've heard that.
They wash themselves,
the alum
put alum
yeah,
by themselves, not realizing that if
it makes
you
your
get
vagina
sex
dry.
as woman eating tight, that means you are not getting pleasure.
Yeah.
Because the more pleasure you have, the looser you become. So like all lengthening in the
But it is a muscle that expands and compresses back. So I think also just understanding that this is how it works. I mean, understanding your functions, right? The functions of the vagina, the functions of the clitoris, what it is intended to do, and if you have used it for the intention that it's used for. I mean, yeah, and if you could use it a little more or a little better, or, you know, kind of enhance some of those things, Kegel exercises, things and where you can do, you know, they cause harm. And I think we should all be doing that. The penis, by the way, is one of the smallest things that go in there, to be honest.
Right. Yeah.
And not even, like, really,
She said,
I don't go too deep. Because you see people and getting conversation. That picking he lose because you don't sleep with Bokuma and them. But literally people in the bone, then they go back to their original shape. So like I said, penis not to something they enlarge you or they make you feel pleasure.
And let's just be honest. 99.99% of men do not have the length nor the width to be able to cause the kind of enlargements that they believe that they cause.
When I listen, is this on?
Like
anytime I talk about they go they right though.
You don't worry, like it's like your penis is not the size of a watermelon, right? Like it's one small penis. So I mean, no disrespect to anybody, but it's that that men oftentimes overvalue the power of their manhood.
Well, that's patriarchy.
Of course.
That's how it manifests itself. And they've also been conditioned. And the other thing I want to say, I know this is not really about men, but I just want to say that men also are under a lot of pressure to perform. And I think that's another issue when it comes to sex and sexuality.
No, wait.
They are.
Awali, we talk about salon context.
Yeah.
It's still
Wait,
so
pause.
Okay.
The reason why to make they bring up the salon context is this. The most pressure we man in a salon, me believe say then gets for perform na financial performance. Now in the number one pressure we then get. Sexual pleasure performance, not necessarily. The team where then they get maybe pressure from when a then self man then to man then they give themselves the pressure, the pressure. Now for say man for last very, very long.
But that's performance.
Right?
performance.
But not to the woman them come up with say man for last very long. Now the man then self define then sexuality and sexual power as longevity.
Yes.
Most of the time when can they do the long, the woman not get orgasm.
Exactly.
You depend long.
And then even the back will be rough, not only longness back.
Not to we give any
Not
pleasure.
so we bring up that. So listen, it's all part of patriarchy and toxic,
Toxic masculinity,
Yes, it
absolutely.
is. But what I'm saying is there is still a pressure, a pressure
Right.
that they have to live up to, whether it's internal or
the
to
patriarchy
For-
pressuring
Yes.
them, not
And
women.
so there is their pressure to perform, to longevity, and also the size. So they are internally that also f's them up in a lot of ways because it always impacts their performance.
Of course.
Then when it comes to the time like I get for perform, they either get something for enhance them because psychologically they're not able to bring themselves to the point where they go able to say, yes, I'm all in. Me self day for me pleasure, I day for this person pleasure.
So
but they're not pleasure focused.
They're not
Ultimately,
pleasure focused.
this teen but size and this teen but
And the
longevity.
Coco Samba and all that.
Yeah.
It's not really about women's pleasure.
No.
At all.
It's
For just
about
proving
it's about
manhood.
toxic
It's a
masculinity.
toxic
Mickey
exactly.
always tell people then say, and I say this to men all the time, you
That's
will
for you.
not use my vagina to prove your manhood. I am not here. I'm not a batting cage. Me no to a tennis ball. You know, tennis for can like whap. No, please, sir. I'm not here for violence.
Not so that they can call now other way that they can call for bats.
Yes,
Not for bats.
I'm not. No, exactly. I'm not.
I want bats. Oh.
And you are
You-
Ola.
No,
That's sexy.
I'm not. I'm not.
fine.
Listen, I'm a gentle creature.
Exactly.
No, that's me. Oh.
I am here for pleasure, and my pleasure is not a pleasure that comes to me because I was battered, right?
Exactly.
Because for me, when you talk about bats and battery, I think like
And
abuse.
when you look at them particularly see how they talk about, it all stem back from this pornography within the watch.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So they watch
absolutely.
porn
That's part of the
video.
patriarchy
Yeah.
as
You
well.
see 15
Porn.
foot
Yeah.
dick. They
And a lot
slam
of
the
men
woman,
leave
the 18
women
foot
injured
some
as
kind
well
of-
with
yeah.
that kind of like toxic masculinity, sexual
So there will be
behavior,
tears
where you
and all
come,
that.
you come into the bedroom and you literally have, I mean, it's not rape because it's consensual, but the kind you bring violence into the bedroom, right? Because you did it for cash and say you're not man.
Exactly.
No, Sarah, you're there to give her pleasure.
Yeah.
This is not a place for you to come and decide that
But
you're
there
a
are
man.
women
Yeah.
who like it rough too. So
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
it really does depend. But what I'm saying is, yes, pornography is a big proponent of this as well. It also furthers the impact we are faced. That also pushes us back from speaking things
because
into like the reality of
Right.
it.
It normalizes
Because
things that
I
are
remember
not
one
violence.
day- I remember one time I get conversation with one guy who would talk, and he was like, waiting to make you get pleasure, and like where they camp and the woman in Bobby in face. I say no to me. I don't go.
That's
I go
porn
pay-
101.
Yeah,
That's
I go
porn
pay almost
101.
million for ear, then fix and I'm it. They can't tell me say
That's porn
splatter
101.
all over my face and I'm in
Now the
ear.
blue soul, now
You know
the
they
blue
get
soul, now
pleasure.
left.
They could tell you say I want you pity inside my mouth. Even though there's some people that like her. But you need to ask me. But,
Absolutely, that's a consent question.
Yeah.
That's you need to be asking people if you want
yeah,
to
they
do
begin
things
for
like
pattern
that.
me, say spanking, whatever. You don't even know how for spank.
Right,
If you see
right.
for can whap me, like you compliment the fit. Begin bruise me, boy. Even come on.
When I listen,
Come on, Iki. Begin bet person. They dig it inside the person's skin.
all those things.
All things, they just stem from what they see in that video. They think that it's
again,
the standard.
it's not about pleasure, right? 'Cause
Yeah, so at the end of it, it's proving yourself.
If it was talking to the woman and saying, what do you like? How do you like it? Even if that's what she likes, she will tell you the manner in which she likes it,
Exactly.
He
right?
bets me, but
And
just
those-
half no more.
Not
Not a deep bet. Just like nibble. You
Don't
sabi
take it
wetin a nibble. Sabi wetin a nibble.
You know, it don't be like na Bobby I can't begin quiz you. Even me picking the 2
Oh
hours.
yeah. Okay. I hope you guys are listening.
So I guess I want to end with, so one of the things that I've heard women say is that sometimes they say they're afraid to advocate for what they really like because men have this thing where if I say I like this, they say, would I teach you?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Who's like, pull this style?
Yeah, I get personal experience with that. Yeah. Let's try this. Would I don't go do it with you suddenly get interest. Like there's the internet, I can read.
Right.
I do research. So like what's wrong with me wanting something new? Yeah. So you see, people like just focus on this pornographic standard where they don't see. They don't even know say some of their video they can video for 3-4 days na montage.
Of course.
Also inside one when the man will
And not
woman
even that
50
graphic.
positions.
Right, or that's a lot of the
enhancers.
women in those videos are sex slaves. They've been trafficked. They're not even having sex of their own volition. They're literally like, you know what I mean?
Plastic surgery.
Yeah, absolutely.
All types
absolutely.
of things.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. The thing about it is you have to be open-minded. The same thing that Umu said, it's about if you get partner with interested in your pleasure, invested in your pleasure, and likewise, you two invested, interested in the person's pleasure, you are there's a level of openness to try and explore things that maybe you didn't think of, maybe you never thought of. And obviously boundaries back there. Where you go say, no, this one, I mean limits that one day. I'm not going to go beyond that day. So I think it's about understanding those things and understanding we want to live a full life with as much pleasure as we can get. So why would I limit myself to missionary with you in the dark and no touching, no kissing, no sucking?
Under the duvet.
Under the duvet, the sweat. All that funny things there.
One woman talked to me, don't married for over 30 years. The man never seen Bobby.
Because they only ever have sex in the dark under the duvet.
Yes. Even with the dress now, you see people pull clothes before a man.
Wow.
So like na duty, where the man can he under the blankets.
Already just waiting.
Nightgown,
Okay, and he just.
Waist na the man.
I've heard these versions before. Even and not in mommy. Even when I was doing this work in America, there was young girls who were subconscious about their breasts. Like one titi, well, I remember, if you get big bobby, now dry lady titi, so but like she just had big breasts, and she would say she would keep her bra on and a t-shirt on every time she had sex because she just did not like the size of her areolas. So I mean, just understanding that she's sexually active, young girl, high school girl, who had serious body shaming issues, for her never to pull off her top or her bra and would have sex with these boys and never do that. And I was like, you have to stop for a minute and ask yourself why. Why would you think that the boy wouldn't want to see that?
Yeah, because like the standard of standing breast, like how they can say if God be what you bit enough, if you don't put bone inside. So yeah, so like
I love that. It's true. It's true.
Because I can relate to what you just explained about that girl because I'm very big busted. I've been big busted since my teens. You know? And then something they calabash Bobby. If up till now safe, because say then they get fine Bobby on a calabash Bobby. And I can't for appreciate Mr. Kim so born. So I've been getting enough stuff for me for me and even after childbirth I don't get that trauma there because most of them people can get a standing breast. Where you don't breastfeed no more the baby for the begin get that awkwardness, you know. Begin for member for go do surgery and everything. But for me, I'm in natural state this and you need to accept me like the way I did. So everything
I think like part of the sexuality that we've been talking about and pleasure, etc., and self-exploration, I think nakedness is a part of it, right? If you're already ashamed of your naked body, you're not forget even about sex, right? Like if you're not able look and appreciate your bodily form as it exists, the body where you live in, we can forget about any exploration of you erogenous zone, which you like, which you know, like, because already you body, you know like you know, me not the kind of person where, you know, when first of all, I'm almost
She's a
always,
nudist.
I'm almost always partially naked. You know, you know.
No, she's a nudist.
You know, but even in my, you know, me not to the kind, some woman then they way, then so not like them body that either before or after sex, then go tie towel, like where you come on at the bed, you go take towel, like you draw the towel, you make so shame, you go in a bathroom, you waiting and cover. I'm not that person. No, I'm like naked up and down, up and down, up and down.
I want you for DJ, the 110, like go the DJ, like busy. Okay? So this is, and so I am definitely for
Spinning
that.
on the 1 and 2.
And the 1s and 2s and sometimes the 3s, okay?
No, I totally hear you. So, to wrap up our conversation today, if you're just joining us, you've missed a lot. So please go back.
Sweet conversation. Like how
go back and rewind. Today we've been talking with Uncut Women of Sierra Leone about uncut women in Sierra Leone, desire, pleasure, and sexuality. And we've just been trying to deconstruct what it is for women's sexual lives and sexual experiences in Sierra Leone. With me in the studio is Leanne, who is a sexpert, and Umu, who is a sociologist or a social worker and a professor. Before we go, ladies, what can society do? Right? We've talked about women, but what do we need to do as a community, as a whole, to make room for or groom the idea of pleasure? Let's even leave sexual pleasure alone. Groom young women and young men while they're still young to understand that women's pleasure is a right, right? Like we all say, I would even say women's pleasure is a human right. To me, that's really what it is. Because if I think back to childhood and just even something as simple as like division of labor and play, right? Women, I feel like when I reflect back on my childhood in Sierra Leone, the man then they play football when they're young, the baba then they play football, then they gonna run that area, then they play gig, then play this. But the girls, you know, at some point, yeah, then they play, but as they begin big small, now then they help for cook, now then they help for raise the other picking, So just even the time to play, where you're like a child and play is pleasure, right? The first kind of pleasure that we know, you know, after food, right? And like things we can taste and like smell. What can we do as a society, right, to start, first of all, allowing more pleasure for girls right when they're young, so that pleasure becomes not even just sexual pleasure, but pleasure becomes something that girls know as their right. Like, I for play, I for enjoy, not a bad thing for like gal picking enjoying self, right? What can society do, and what are some of the ways in which they can release girls in Sierra Leone so that they can access more pleasure starting in a young age and then, you know, as they get older and become adults?
Yeah, I think the first step is like learning that a woman can have pleasure, and having pleasure is not wrong. Like for let society accepts and they let them try for understand how what's in a pleasure and how it help. Because like we said, the release of endorphins, you know, and all these hormones that are released when you get pleasure is key for your mental stability, you know, it's key for your own development. And with regards sexual pleasure specifically, we need to stop shaming women for having pleasure or for wanting pleasure. And it starts at a very young age, right? This is my personal experience where I've been there with one picking, and one time, the woman in kitchen, he play with himself. She was 4 at the time. And as soon as I came home, hey, if you see waiting up picking the pants today,
You don't begin.
So they thought I can't beat her, or I can't lap her, or I can't do something. But the thing we maybe don't learn, like I be experiencing, I very interested in sex and sexuality. Like I want to actually do an because sexual mindset, they start from more small. We they come for realize about pleasure for more small. Like make you go always hear them say, "Pikin they play mama, papa they do all things in the." So we I said with the picking, the thing where I communicate with her is I not tell her say what you do bad. Because when you instill landing I pick in mind, say because it touch himself and he get pleasure, it bad. Immediately, you know they able for masturbate and like new person.
It's on in life, yeah.
So waiting we for focus on, for example, is educating and say, you no need for do this na public. Because people that they see you and you know for make a habit because maybe you could get health issues there because if you hand them dirty, you touch yourself, you will get infection and everything. Okay. But like for make the picky understand, say it's not wrong for you for feel pleasure when you touch that party because now you make that party exist. Now for pleasure, now in you get for use and for. But you go able to educate picking now about okay, maybe not engage in sex early if we want to get sex education talk. But Lula not for shame picking them at that tender age day where you begin for realize because you know even sabi self within a sex. So to say it's sabi, it's just that the part in our body you don't touch them and you see say you feel good. Now it make it continue for touch that party. So then in a one key thing we go able for educate we as adults you don't get any barrier for understand waiting they give pleasure on that and for saying bad for they feel pleasure. So me for me picking them, I get to picking them. They already they name them party by the name. Vagina, vagina, penis, na penis. Okay? So me picking and no randy. It's not that they go make them part of the everyday conversation.
Sure.
But the day, God forbid, but if I want to get conversation, for say if person touch them sexually, I able for ask them, person touch your penis, and you know waiting.
Sure.
Like I talk about because even I can even lead to sexual abuse by picking at an early age because they don't even know them body parts. They don't know waiting them functionalities then therefore. So we need for really open that conversation there with picking them from where them be toddlers then. And accept say for because you touch yourself you get pleasure. There's nothing wrong with that. So for me, the mindset, the sensitization, the awareness for say pleasure is not wrong and for be more accepting to picking them for they realize it. If they want to get sex for pleasure, there is nothing wrong with that.
Thank you. Leanne, over to you. What do you think we can do to start ensuring that girls at a young age know that pleasure is a right that they have?
Yeah. So I would say that there are human rights specific to sexual and reproductive human rights. I think there's four of them, and the first one is along the lines as I choose who I can marry. I also choose when and where and how many children I can have, and also I also have the right to seek sexual and reproductive education and services. Right? So that includes contraception, so family planning, that includes abortion, that includes all of the things that will help you be safe, feel safe and secure in a society when it comes to your sexual and reproductive health. So I just wanted to say that because those actually exist.
Yeah,
it exists. So even if you go like Amnesty or any of the human rights, the UN, they all have them there. But I would say in addition to what Umu said, which is very key, I think that it starts with parents. You not the first teacher of UPKM. Society, yes, plays a role, but I think ultimately it starts with parenting. You must do better. You know better, so you do better. That's my motto, right? When you know better, you do better. So part of it is instilling these thoughts of the fact that there are actual stages of life where these things show up and it's totally normal. So before we even come into the world, even within utero, like even when a baby dey inside you belly, boy pikin in tone able to map for pleasure inside. I mean, that has been recorded. That's part of the reason why doctors can discover if it's a male or not. And, likewise, I'm sure that, females also have something similar that occurs, but might be a little harder to see or detect on a sonogram. Yeah, sure. But the point is that because they can equate that with a male, it also definitely happens with women. So if that starts before you even enter the world, when we talk about gender roles, that's something we impose, right? It's a social construct.
Right.
So we impose that on kids. We say that, boy picking are blue and gal picking are pink and dress and trusses and motoka and baby doll, all them funny things. I think that we need to do less imposing and we need to do more battling. You need for battle you picking. You need for begin for see waiting in they take on your own. If Ingo take motoka and in a gal picking, watch him how they play with the toy with the motoka and watch him. Sometimes an engineer, maybe we don't even know what it is going to manifest itself into, or sometimes it will take you Q-Tex and begin paint. We don't know. But the thing is, it's like you as the parents, you ensure safety first, and then you allow them to be. Especially when they're in your space before they go out into school and into the world. Now they force it start. So I would say, this is outside of sexuality because, your question was really generally, how do we make sure that people understand their rights? It's through those types of avenues. The younger, the better. Say, where they speaking common, you are the guardian. You are the guider. You're the one to guide them, but you're not living their life for them. So you want to make sure that you do that as best as you can and as open as you can. So that's what I would say, how it starts and how it would even seep into the society if all the parents, all the combrade begin for understand, say, yes, I need for try for understand me pikin. I need for see for how incest they play for incest. I need for ensuring safety and for they no more. If he get question, I the answer to the best of my ability. And if I'm not able to answer, I go find way for answer in the best way I go able to do So I think that that's really my first and very simple step.
Sure. For parents to take the lead. Okay. So, at the end of the day here, I wish truly nothing but healthy and enjoyable, sweet.
Yes.
Sweet sexual pleasure for all women in Sierra Leone, whether you're cut or uncut,
yes.
Because, if a man truly loves you and truly cares for your pleasure, whether you're cut or uncut, they will find a way because we know say the clitoris stay inside. So if you really connect to the woman in sexual pleasure, whether she's uncut or you want to go there, you're committed, you're dedicated to the purpose at hand, and you want to deliver.
Yes.
Wait, then power people and can say on Twitter #we will deliver.
We're on a quest.
Be a man who wants to deliver orgasm for your lady because you want her to live her best life.
Yes.
And the best possible life for every woman is one where she is experiencing life fully. And sexual pleasure is a part of living a full life.
Yes,
thank you so much to our two guests in the studio today, Leanne and Umu, who have shared their experience and perspectives on as uncut Sierra Leonean women. You've been listening to the Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast. I've been your host, the one and only Vicky Rameau, and this recording is brought to you live from VRNC Marketing Studios in Freetown. On camera 1, we have our most awesome multimedia producer, Augustine Kagbo, and on camera 2, we have our production assistant, Alassane Lamine Kagbo, no relation to Augustine Kagbo. The Kagbo then just bokuna we country. And you can't see him, but the man behind the sound is co-producer and sound engineer, Frank Vane Bob McEwen. Thank you for listening. If you've had a great time, do the best thing possible for the show, which is to share it on your WhatsApp groups and social media platforms so that your family and friends can lean in for the conversation. And if you're listening to this on a streaming platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, don't forget to leave us a very beautiful review because, reviews are what make it easier for the algorithms to recommend the Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast to other listeners. Until next time, continue to make Sierra Leone famous for the right reasons. Una tata.